Today we're going to explore just how powerful Alpaca Chroma is by applying different styles to some images. I'm going to upload this photo of a woman cut out with a transparent background, so we get a lot of freedom with the background, but control with the source image. And I'm going to show you some styles Alpaca Chroma really nails and does a great job with. All we need to do is add some phrases to the end of our prompt, which I will display on screen here. Before we go ahead, I just want to mention Alpaca Chroma are sponsoring this video, and there is a link in the description. So I started by trying a few popular styles in Alpaca Chroma and got some pretty cool results. The first one is cyberpunk. As you can see, the prompt is a woman, cyberpunk, with the input image you can see in the bottom right, and the way it's added the elements and changed that style, the coloring, it's really nailed the cyberpunk style. And Alpaca's really got a great engine behind it for converting images into these cool sort of different styles. And similarly, again, is steampunk, where we get that nice kind of like old-fashioned steampunk look. The way it's added all the clocks and bits and pieces on there, and it has a real photographic look to it as well. So Alpaca's done a great job with that style also. In techno grunge style, a little bit more freestyle, but this look is also very popular. It looks like she's part of like a punk band or something like that. So you can really see the power and that photographic sort of realism it's able to bring to that image. Nature punk is a fun one. It adds like bits of nature in that in the hair and throughout the background. It's done a really good job with nature punk as well. And gritty comic book art. I love the mean look it's added, the line work. It's really referenced that style incredibly well and done a great job. And superhero style, adding some superhero elements to the character. Really awesome. It's done a great job here again, and the overall style with the line work again has a comic book feel to it, but with the superhero theme applied. And DMT art style, a little more abstract, and the way it's added that background, it has really gone for a more artistic look. And even the next one, which is psychedelic artwork, we get a similar effect with a really cool background, some crazy colors, and a really awesome art style applied to that photo. So you can see by using your own photos or artwork, you can really go quite far with Alpaca Chroma by using some of these styles. And don't forget, you're not confined to just a photograph for this. You can still upload art or even draw something using the tools in Chroma if you want to work that way as well. And of course, you can continue to work in iterations to see how far you can go with this tool. But what if you want to try some traditional art styles or things that are a little bit more common? These are really great images, but just using some more common styles. So we have here a woman, watercolor. So she's done a great, she looks a little bit older, which I think is interesting, but that watercolor style has been nailed really quite well on this image. And an oil painting, looks like an actual oil painting, maybe a little too photorealistic, but you could easily dial the creativity up or change the prompt. I wanted to keep this exactly as is, so you get a really true, honest representation, and it has done a great job. And a pencil sketch, it looks like a really high-level pencil sketch, down to the shading and little signatures sort of off to the side. And a woman, ink dripping drawing. The way it's added the ink around adds a style around the image as well, while creating like a really inky sort of like art style. Naive art, a much simpler form of art, like a painting style from a few centuries ago, works really well here. Renaissance art, the way it's sort of rendered the face, the eyes and nose, it's really done a great job. And ukiyo-e, I really like what it did here. It really has captured that ukiyo-e style and nice and clean too. And I also tried another one which is slightly different, but very similar, which is Edo period woodblock print. Very similar result. We are using the same reference image, but some of the smaller differences are cool. If I head back, just things like the background, but also the robe has a little bit more detail. So a bit of fun to sort of play between those two. A Roman statue, that looks just like a real statue. Now, Alpaca Chroma has done a great job for statues for me in the past, so I really wanted to showcase this. And a polished wood statue. This looks like a real wooden statue. And pyrography, which is kind of like when something is burnt into wood, that wood grain and that wood burn effect has been nailed pretty well by Alpaca Chroma in this particular instance. And origami, the way that the clothes, the hair is origami, the face still looks like a bit of a human face, but with origami elements and folds being introduced into it. I think it's really nailed it. And the two birds in the background, it's a very unique sort of effect while keeping an origami style. And you could probably, you could probably make some adjustments if you really wanted to go further. This is just point blank, straight out of Alpaca Chroma as is. In Chinese folk art, I really love the intricacies of like the roses and the flowers on the dress, and flowers in the background. It really has done a great job of capturing this style. And surrealism has that real surreal look to it with the bits and pieces in the background. It has more applied a dated sort of fashion to the figure, but surrounded the figure with surrealist sort of objects. And that's why I wanted to have that transparent background, because we get to see how Alpaca Chroma will generate something fresh as in the background whilst converting an image being the woman. And embroidery looks like it's actually been stitched into a cross stitch sort of like fabric. Now while we're here, another quick tip. Don't forget, while I'm doing single styles here, you can also combine these styles to get really unique results. And I highly recommend experimenting with that, as it is a lot of fun. Now, I also want to move on to some TV and animation styles, which are also quite popular these days. So we have a woman, vintage rubber hose animation, has that old-fashioned style to it, and a little bit more sort of detail, but still a really awesome result. A cinematic movie still. This looks like something from a movie where something bad's about to happen. It really has that proper cinematic feel to it. And a 1970s sitcom. It looks like something you would taken from a screen grab from a TV show, with that 1970s fashion style applied to it. You can try this with any era. It could be 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and get some pretty interesting imagery from that. Modern cartoon style, has a detailed modern cartoon look to it. Very well done, and the way it has sort of contrast in the skin, like from the highlights to the shadows. I really like the way it handled this particular prompt. And a children's cartoon character, so this looks more like kind of like a 3D kids movie that you would see at the cinemas. It has applied that style well. However, I didn't include 3D in it, so there's a little bit more of an illustration edge to it. It's kind of blended the two. But if you want to really get that 3D look, I've got children's 3D movie character. So it has really gone for that 3D look there. It looks like a character from Shrek or something like that. And Unreal Engine for that really sort of video game, high-level 3D look, but super realistic. It still looks 3D, but it's really close to realism. And that sort of more cinematic look as well, but leaning towards 3D. And just good old-fashioned 3D render produces something much plainer, smoother, and that's really cool if you want to create something that looks very much like a 3D render that is just very standard. And low poly, another take on 3D and really breaking things down into a low poly style. This is a fun style to work with, and I love the way it's handled this particular image and made it low poly. And I'm back again with another tip, and that is simply don't just rely on the styles you see in this video. Consider what you're looking at and apply some of the concept behind it to create your own styles. You can actually use this quite often to get motivations or inspiration for something unique that you come up with yourself. Now we're trying a few things that are unique and different. So moving ahead, I've got here melted cheese statue. So you can actually use your imagination pretty well to get a different style here. So she literally looks like a statue made out of cheese that is melting. And I think it's a nifty effect. And Lego figurine, she doesn't look exactly like a Lego figure, but considering that the input image is a photo, and I haven't just gone up to the wild setting, I think the way it's applied the color and the overall texture of the plastic, it's done a really great job. And moving on to vinyl sticker. It looks like it's got the woman and she's on a vinyl sticker. Once again, I've got the setting. It's not at pro or controlled. So sometimes you're going to get some differences in the person. But I really like the way it's handled that and placed a little shadow under the sticker. And simple vector art. It has got a lot more solid sort of shapes making up the shading. So you could probably quite easily convert this into vector art and use it for a project. And action figure. After trying Lego figure, I really want to try action figure. And it's done a great job of making this girl look like she is an actual action figure. And yet another tip, don't be afraid to explore art styles without relying on AI art or Chroma. You can just look up art styles on Google, or even find some that you find from other platforms. Try them on Chroma, and Chroma does a pretty good job of interpreting most styles that you throw at it. Photography. So we've got some photography terms here that will also help you sort of get some unique imagery and give you that photorealism look. So a stock photo, we've got a woman, just look like she's in a studio, getting a stock photo done. And then we've also got a double exposure photograph where there's a little bit exposed over the photo, but also that background where we've got the faces and the trees it's done a great job of creating something unique around the character. And a Polaroid photo, the way it's kind of got that nice plain, sort of muted color, high contrast look, like an old faded Polaroid photo, it's actually really nailed that look, so you can get something that looks pretty legit using this term. And World War I found photograph, or WW1, takes it back to the era, gets that sepia black and white look to it, and looks like a legitimate old photograph of someone who looks very close to this person. And golden hour. This looks much closer to the actual person itself, but with that golden hour background, the light shining through and the highlights around the hair, this looks like some professional photography. And photograph with bokeh effect. Once again, it's similar to golden hour, but it doesn't actually necessarily have golden hour elements. A lot of dots to create that bokeh effect you get with photography, which is a very desirable effect for a lot of photo types. So I think it's done a great job of achieving that and giving you something that looks pretty photorealistic. And a faded photograph, we've got something old, looks even older than that WW1 photograph. So a really cool effect at creating something which looks old and dated. But you can also just play with the color palette itself. So moving on, I've tried a woman bright colors, and we've got these nice, bright, vibrant colors, and Alpaca Chroma has done a great job of bringing that image to life. We move on to monochrome, and it's really dulled those colors. If I had moved the preset up to wild, it probably would have been completely black and white, but I kind of like the way it's really just muted the colors and gone for a lot of grays and blacks. And sepia, again, going for that old-fashioned photography style with the sepia colors. And radioactive color palette. The wild radioactive colors is one I really like, and I like what it's done with this image and created something pretty unique. And we got muted color, so we're dialing the color back this time. So we still have color in the image, it's just not bright, it's a little bit dull. And warm colors, so you got that warm, so we're talking about temperature here when we mean warm, nice warm colors, which of course means cool colors. Blues, purples, things like that to create a cooler looking image. And finally, something different, neon colors has added neon lights. So sometimes you do get some elements of that in there as well, which I think is actually pretty cool. And like I said, these are just straight out of the box, first render. It's very easy for you to take these further if you want to get some really interesting effects. So I highly recommend taking some of your own artwork, photos or imagery, uploading them into Alpaca Chroma like I have with this logo here, have a play and see what styles you can come up with, try the styles we've gone through today, and have a bit of fun creating some different and unique images. So check out Alpaca Chroma. There is a link in the description. They are sponsoring this video. I want to thank them again for sponsoring the video. But otherwise, if you did like the video, please consider giving it a like. Otherwise, if you want more Alpaca Chroma tutorials, check out the playlist that I'll pop on the screen right now. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.